Welcome to the Beatles Talk Show for the date January 31st in Beatles history. Did you know it was on this date in 1963 the Beatles were performing their typical lunchtime show at the Cavern Club, but they also performed a night show at the Majestic Ballroom in Birkenhead. Demand for tickets at the Majestic was so high that the Beatles actually performed 2 shows for 2 houses, which was quite unusual for a ballroom gig. On this date in 1964, the Beatles released Sweet Georgia Brown on Polydor Records as Tony Sheridan and the Beatles. This was released in England. It had been recorded actually 3 years earlier, though.
I think, yeah.
Of course, they're cashing in on the newfound Beatles success here. On the same day in 1964, the Beatles performed 2 more shows at the Olympia Theatre in Paris, France.
No screaming fans at that one. People just clapped quietly, yeah.
And they also announced that in England, sales figures now of She Loves You was at 1.3 million copies, and I Want to Hold Your Hand had already surpassed it at 1.5 million. Huge numbers.
Especially for back then, yeah.
On this date in 1967, the Beatles were filming the Strawberry Fields Forever promotional video. This was day 2. This time they filmed Paul dropping down from a high branch in the dead tree and running backwards to a piano. But in the video, they played this segment in reverse, making it appear as if Paul is jumping into the tree.
He was quite acrobatic. I think he did do that. I think you have it in reverse.
Yeah, okay. And on this day, after a month working on the Get Back project in 1969, they finally finished completion of the filming and recording everything that they wanted to do for what would become the Let It Be movie. And the Beatles and Billy Preston set up in stage formation and performed Two of Us, The Long and Winding Road, and did 9 takes of Let It Be.
Did you know that I've got a bootleg where John Lennon is actually singing Get Back? It's quite interesting. And yet it's a Paul song. Go figure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. On this date in 1972, John Lennon and Yoko Ono began taping 5 programs as the week's co-host on the afternoon talk show, The Mike Douglas Show.
Yeah.
And these shows would be broadcast 2 weeks later. So those are kind of fun to watch now.
It is, yeah.
On this day in 1975, John Lennon paid a visit to Yoko Ono at the Dakota. And the reason he went is Yoko said she had a cure for his smoking habit.
Did it work?
After they had been kind of split up for a while, he said this is the day that things just fell in place, and he got back together with her and would spend the rest of his life with her.
Now here's something interesting. Do you know that it was actually Paul that got them together again? That's right. If it wasn't for Paul, they probably never would have got together after the Madison Square Garden concert in '74 with Elton John. It was Paul that said to John, look man, Yoko's in the audience, you got to go talk to her. And he actually got them both together. So, good or bad, whatever you feel about it, it was Paul that wanted to help his buddy out. So, there you go. And I want to say one thing about May Peng too. Nobody talks about May Peng, but she actually was with John for, I believe it was 14 months, wasn't it? In '73? And a little bit of '74. Is that right? So, yeah, there's a little bit of trivia there.
Did you know on the same day that he got back together with Yoko, he actually released the single Number 9 Dream, which would become a big hit for him that year.
Okay. Good stuff.
And also on this exact same day, they had the Phil Spector produced a version of the Rock and Roll album.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, that had been recorded in 1973.
That's right, yeah. And you know who played on those sessions? I
Tell
just love to interrupt you.
Yeah,
This is great.
tell me.
I'll tell you, Paul McCartney. And you know what he was on? He was on the drums. And he was singing.
okay.
And I've got the actual recording of that. With Paul on drums, John on guitar. And they're doing Ain't That a Shame. They're doing a whole bunch of old 50s rockers. Yeah. And they're harmonizing together. And
Right.
yeah. I mean, it's more kind of like a jam, kind of fooling around. Obviously, it wasn't a real reunion of sorts, but I think it could have easily led to a reunion that I believe was probably in the making.
So my dear friends, come back when you can.